Welcome to ODDITs. Just proving a point. ODDITs stands for Off-Duty Driving Instructor Trainers. This is number 2. And this is our PSTs Contagious. So, just before we move on with that, Terry,
I'm frozen.
no, it was just in that moment. You just needed to do it. Have you got a
Oh,
friend?
not for the whole thing.
Not for the whole thing.
Oh,
So on that awkward note, right, I'm going to ask you both. What is the purpose of audits of duty driving instructor trainers? Why are we doing this?
yeah, Ian.
Oh, me. Oh, nothing like being ganged up on. Why are we doing it? Well, I think it's good to laugh. It's good to have a laugh, and it's good to show that the two people who know what they're talking about in this threesome can have a laugh as well as the ignorant one sat here. So I think it's a good idea just to reflect on how we were taught and look at how we've changed things for everyone else that we teach. Because I think making me think about my training give me some real nightmare. But it's we wouldn't be where we are and who we are now if we hadn't all had the same kind of experience. What do you think, Terry?
Oh, there's nothing like being stuck in a deep end. Oh no. Thrown in a deep end again. Oh no.
Just repaying the favour, mate. Just repaying the favour.
You know what? I just want to have a laugh and show that not training doesn't have to be, strict and by the book and do this, do that. Some trainers have got a sense of humor. And if we follow Facebook, if we laughing at Fiona, and if we follow Facebook and look at all the comments on Facebook, it's like no one's having fun.
Mm.
And it's like no one has a light-hearted look at this industry. And I think it's sometimes you've got to take a step back and just have a laugh at yourself and not take things too seriously.
Mm.
And I hope that people watching or the person watching this, is of the same ilk and tunes in and watches this when they need to pick me up or laugh or they want to just go, you know what? I'll take my mind off serious work for a bit and let's listen to these three sherbets for half an hour. So yeah, that's why, Fiona. But you, Fiona.
Well, I was the one who had the stupid idea.
Not the first time.
Yeah, but you two mugs are doing it with me, aren't you?
We
I wanted to call it something else, but
bit of a strange name, something else.
Mm.
Oh, which I haven't done. Please remember there may be Terry using some language. Terry using some language, and Ian might be doing some content that might have an adult kind of ilk to it. Not me, I'm an angel. So please be aware. If you are offended by that stuff, go and don't look at this because we can't guarantee what's going to come out because we do like having a laugh. So it's seriously not
Funny.
serious. it's just us getting together. There is a serious angle behind it. I don't know where it is yet. Haven't found it. We'll find it.
Someone might learn something, maybe,
Well,
possibly, occasionally, or pick up some tips.
It would be nice. Have either of you, rather than dumping on you, have either of you had any thoughts since the last session? Any reflection, which is also a really useful tool. But there we go, just getting that out there. But I have been thinking about it. I didn't want to listen to it again, but I have thought about it somewhat. Either?
Yeah.
Me again?
Well,
I think just how a lot of the way we tested's changed. I think a lot of the trainings remain pretty static from what we remember. And I think, you know, we're in the 21st century now. Some of the techniques.
In the year what? 21.
25, isn't it, mate?
25. That's a private joke between, because Terry kept singing it while Ian and I were doing serious things.
Absolutely. But I think, you know, a lot of stuff's moved on and developed. But I'm certainly hearing from trainees the same techniques are being used and the same exercises are being used and the same standards are being applied to training of instructors some 20, 25, 26 years.
Absolutely.
And I think, well, I don't do things the same as I did 26 years ago, 25 years ago.
I actually had an uncomfortable thing happen a little while ago.
We don't want to know.
Oh, well, it's relevant. It's relevant. This one's relevant. It's not the other
Does
problem.
it involve a nappy?
No.
Oh, carry on then.
No adult baby foods can show. No, none of that. So I was doing some part 2 training, and my PDI said, well, can't you just tell me? Just tell me what I'm doing wrong. And I said, well, you don't like it when I just tell you. No, I do. I prefer it. That's how I prefer to learn. And there was a lot of emotion came out. I did the training as I was asked to do. So I went back and I just ignored it, which is probably, but I have said it since, and I did say, but you really don't like it. So the training, it is so much easier to just tell somebody.
Yeah, but it's easier to give a man a fish, isn't it?
I don't know. I'm vegetarian.
Depends how far from Iceland you are.
Well, there's plenty of them. You can get home delivery from Iceland now, man.
Here you go, easy.
Oh, right. One more bit of reflection for me from last time was, just one more, was how the only bit of feedback I can really remember getting was the negative stuff, which is really horrible. So,
absolutely.
However, and I think, well, Ian will agree with me because he's Ian and you're.
Finally got a name right, Ian.
That's the first time in how many years?
It's just how negative. If you give negative feedback, you're probably going to get results, but the negative feedback will be remembered for years because it's in the wrong place. But positive feedback is so much more fun, which is why we enjoy having a laugh in the car, because it takes all the pressure off people getting it right. And if you get it wrong and you're having a laugh while you're doing it, no biggie. Did you have a thought then, Terry?
Luckily, didn't pluralize it. Yeah, because I only had the one thought. Because more than that, things start to happen that shouldn't happen. I've had more than one. And it was just nice. Like, I haven't thought about my training for a long time, and it was nice just to reminisce a little bit about how fishy it was, and having training in the stomach of Moby Dick in the afternoons after the trainer had his sardines for lunch, and just remembering that kind of stuff. It was nice to reflect, even though it wasn't the best kind of training, but it was nice to go back, and that's where it all started. I had hair.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't grey.
On your head?
Yeah. On my head, hey.
Really?
Yeah. I know. Mad. So that was my reflection from last year.
75 years ago. It was 75 years ago. We came up with that.
It was 75 years ago, yeah.
I thought that was quite bizarre when we found out we all trained about the same time at the same company. Yeah. And look at us now.
And the worst thing, we're still here after training with them.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, I was going to get out after 6 years. I'd had enough.
You know what? I was only meant to do this part-time. It was just 4 or 5 years. So there wasn't a lot of work as a football coach during the day. It was all in the evening and weekends. And after, and I thought, I'll just do this for 5 years, get in and build up the football coaching business and stuff. And then look at them still here. Jesus.
I'm glad you kept up with your fitness, though.
Obviously.
Sorry. I had to suppress some wind there.
That was really bad, wasn't it? Right.
Yes, no problem. No problem at all.
I'm going to be in for it later. Well, at least I know where the stop recording button is. I was going to ask you a question, Terry, but I don't know if I'd.
Go on. Go on.
Have you got any more to say, or can I ask you the next question, though?
Go on, carry on. So what's that? Ask the next one.
PSTs, are they contagious?
Yeah. PSTs, Jesus. You don't realise how bad they are until there's an alternative offered. But yeah, PSTs do me a ding. And the problem is, though, right? And this is the biggest problem with training in this industry at the moment. Was it 2017? Coaching came in 2014?
I think it was
New standards check
14.
14. But there are people who are trainers now who are using the same methods with their trainees that they were trained with. So if they were trained with PSTs, they are now teaching the PSTs to the students or to the new PDIs or similar ways, which just is just a mockery that you can teach anyone to be a driving instructor in this country and have no process of qualifying or showing off your knowledge. Go on, Ian. Go on.
Well,
okay, just before you go on with your other stuff, Ian, can you tell us what PSTs are? Just suddenly realised if people are new, they may have no idea what a PST is.
PSTs are preset tests. And there was 10 of them. And it was the mark and sheet for the Part 3 test. And in the good old days, the result used to be posted out to you. You had to wait for the little brown envelope to drop through the door. 2 or 3 days after you'd taken your test.
Yeah.
Now, as a test, it was a role play test. So the examiner delivered the subjects that were on the marking sheet and he assessed how well you dealt with him and taught the lesson. So PSTs are preset tests.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So now I've interrupted you, though. Have you got the rest of what you were going to say? Have you forgotten it?
Well, what I was going to say is what Terry said. I can kind of understand why people still use them, particularly if you're training people to go on a trainee license, because the ADI 21T is just a list of the subjects that were on the PSTs. And the 2180 is the same list of subjects that were on the 21T. And we still have to complete that out-of-date paperwork, or that paperwork that's no longer valid to the way we're assessed.
Absolutely. Another useless blooming, won't say it.
Yeah, so it's strange.
But you can't have an industry. Well, you've got one, obviously, but you shouldn't have an industry where the people doing the training of the trainers have no qualification process or standards that need to be checked, or it's just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And there are PDIs getting ripped off left, right, and centre with either poor training or contracts that aren't fair, and unless they do loads and loads of research, they never find this out until it's too late.
Agreed.
There are questions on the PDI groups. It's like, I do sit there sometimes. So why are you not asking your trainer this? Who is your trainer? I get it that they want another opinion from their trainer or something. I get that.
Perhaps they're worried the trainer's going to take the mickey out of them.
Possibly as well. But it's also the kinds of questions they're asking. It's like, well, this shouldn't be part of your training.
Mm.
There was one the other day, oh, maybe a couple of weeks ago now, asking about the PSTs. Which PST should I use on my standards, on my part 3? Yeah, I know exactly. I just scrolled by because I knew I've, you know.
I'm going to do a thing though. I'm going to ask, it's usually you doing it, Terry.
What?
Devil's advocate.
No way.
So what was good about the PSTs compared to taking a pupil?
I didn't hear the first bit. What was what?
What was good about the PSTs compared to taking a pupil? If there was hoo-ha and kerfuffle in the industry when it changed over.
Mm.
Yeah, people don't like change. Well, it depends which way you look at it. But the good thing about a PST is if you had an experienced trainer, they could tell you all the mistakes the examiner would make for certain PSTs. Like they'll do this here. When they do this, they'll do this. When they do that, they do that. And so it meant you had to watch the examiner closely. So I guess that might be a good thing. It taught you to watch the student rather than the road ahead. Maybe.
It also meant you didn't really know what you were getting until the day.
Yeah.
That was good. And there were 2 levels because
Yeah.
not preferences. So, you know, people do tend to have that. And a lot of people, would you agree, seem to know what they're doing about 3 months before their part.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, but that's people that don't understand because of the way they've been trained. You know, how can you decide what you're going to do 2 months beforehand?
Yeah, you can't. I tried that and couldn't sleep. Really couldn't sleep. Kept waking up with nightmares about how bad the assessment was going.
Yeah.
But that's another story for another day. What I think was good about the assessment method, if you look at everything that's on the PST, we use all those skills today.
Yeah.
But we use them differently.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, I remember feeling like I had to be the oracle of everything that happened in the car. I had to know a solution to everything that went wrong in the car.
Yeah.
Everything. And that's a huge task for an entry-level qualification because you were told by your trainer that you can't ask the examiner questions like that. You know, you have to know this. You have to know why he's doing it wrong. You have to know what the solution is. And I'm thinking, I'm not a mind reader.
Yeah.
I know I went into what was negative there, but I think the skills you were tested on are still absolutely valid in the job we do today.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And 2 levels of person for one
Mhm.
Yeah.
which was quite useful because you had to shift your brain.
Mhm.
I still can't get over you saying last time, Ian, that you didn't go on a pink. You didn't do that.
I didn't.
So being able to,
Truth.
but there's people, surely, was the pink license always available to a driving instructor? Seeing as you 2 have been in the industry forever longer than
What, weeks longer than you?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I know it was. Yeah, it was certainly available when I was training because everybody
chose not to do it.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's part of me thinking, there's a little part of me thinking, was that fair? On my paying, you know, part of our part 3 and our standards check is, do we provide value for money?
Mm-hmm.
In terms of effort, oh, absolutely. I tried every single session to help, but I don't know if I was as good as you 2. Shouldn't be comparing.
We're all individuals and we all shine in our own light.
Yeah. Kerry, do you have another thought?
Pushing it now.
What?
About PSTs.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
Good stuff about the PSTs. Nothing that comes to mind. I think you two said the good stuff about the PSTs.
Yeah.
They're
I've got
definitely
one more.
contagious, and they're still. Oh, go on, son.
Sorry, I interrupted.
You bloody will be. You'll carry on, say.
All right.
Boy.
I think you had to know your stuff. Yeah, you had to know the technical stuff about what you were teaching. So you had to know junctions inside out, because you'd be torn to pieces if your briefing wasn't right. You'd be they'd run rings around you. And I experienced that in my first part 3. I got something wrong, and it just went to town on it. It just went to town on it. Quite rightly. But you had to know your stuff. You couldn't go in at half-cocked. You had to know each one of those subjects inside out.
I'm roundabouts.
No roundabouts.
No roundabouts on it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I just didn't like the structure of it. But anyway, you're absolutely right. You had to know your stuff. You had to know how to teach different people. You had to have the fixes. You had to have the consequences. And they're all still there.
They're all still there. So they're, so I think that when we were laughing about what subject to cover next, it just seemed to be that we went from one scripted way to a different scripted way, which is a shame. So a blend of both, which is probably what, the best trainers are doing, but also this person-centered, that's something else the DVSA got right. We call it coaching because we do an extreme version of it, but client-centered is the way to go. And that's where the feedback should be going. So all of that stuff we endured in the car, to be idiots and all the rest of it. That's a bit of a shame, isn't it? A bit of a shame. Any more about PSTs? The bank likes to say yes.
Positive or negative?
Either.
Well, I've got a great big negative.
Ooh.
Ooh.
That's affected me
like
psychologically for years.
It's affected you psychologically for years. 1 second,
Yeah. This has really messed with my head since I trained, and I essentially passed me part 3 and didn't have a clue about lesson planning because you didn't need it.
No. Absolutely spot on. Hadn't thought about that.
So there's generations of instructors out there who may not understand what lesson planning actually involves.
Yeah.
And I was one of them.
Yeah, no, totally agree, mate. Totally agree.
And I think that's a big negative for the system.
Yeah.
Because the examiner planned it all. The examiner delivered it. Chose the area, chose the route.
Potentially, that might be why lesson planning is such a common issue, problem, we want to call it, for PDIs now. Because the people training them sometimes, like us, had no idea about lesson planning when we qualified. We've just passed that on. Maybe.
So these are things that certainly you do specific subjects on your little workshops, Terry, on these kind of issues.
Try to.
Do you do workshops, Ian, yet?
I've been bugging him for months and months to start doing some workshops. He don't listen to me.
I do some.
No, nationally, on Zoom, so the whole country
Yeah, not
can
just
come
for
along.
your mates and the people that love you. The other ones that don't know they love you.
Yeah, not your workshops on your special club on a Saturday night.
No, just because they wouldn't let you in your leather suit in to my special club on a Saturday night, you didn't have to go there today, Terry. I'm not going to mention the Goodyear blimp or anything like that. But
don't talk about me that way. Don't talk about me that way. You know I've got an addiction.
It wasn't you. It wasn't you turned away from the club.
And they let me in. There are gaps. The thing is, and I'll say it again, I think I said it last time, the DVSA, their role, so it's not their responsibility, it's us as trainers that need to make sure this stuff goes out. Us as ADIs to make sure we're up to delivering whatever it is we're meant to be delivering. I just think it's hard to find reasonable resources that you can trust, and that is difficult because no one's going to trust me. I wouldn't trust me. Never mind. Anyway,
so in answer to your question, Fiona, yes, PSTs are contagious.
They are contagious. Some of it is contagious in a good way, though. Who came up with that? And I've heard loads of different things, but I always disliked it. The identify, analyze, and remedy. Oh, is it not? Have I said it wrongly?
I think you know how you said it.
I've not heard that for a while, actually.
Identify, analyze, and remedy. How can you honestly say why someone's done something?
What, without asking?
You did that for the reason I'm telling you, examiner. I find that really frustrating. That was, in my opinion, because that's not addressing any kind of emotional reaction to anything that's going on. And as we all know, emotional reaction to things when people are driving has a massive snowball effect on anything, whether it's driving test, learning, being a PDI. The emotional reaction to stuff is incredible. Well, people do, when we do our standards check training, people have been ADIs for 30-something years, having conversations with me, and they're in tears, they're in bits. And it's, it's horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah.
So,
and that stuff happens. So identifying, analysing, and remedying did drive me nuts.
But we're still using it. We're still using it today. We still have to identify what isn't right.
We need the skill.
Yeah.
But how we get there is different now.
How we get there, and who should be doing the analysis and the remedy. There you go.
And the identifying.
Absolutely. And it's not often I will defend the DVSA, but I think the skills that are in there are still crucial to being an instructor. And now that you're testing with a pupil in the car, you can really show off how well you're doing that.
Yeah.
Because your pupil isn't sitting there wanting to push your buttons to see if they can push your buttons, because that's part of the test.
Yeah.
They're trying the best to get better as well.
Yeah. In your opinion, then, both of you, Terry first, do you think the examiners have changed in how they respond to? Because I think in 2014, 2015, 2016, I think there was a learning process.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there still is. No, I asked an ex senior examiner the other week. I said, how much training did the examiners get on client-centered stuff and coaching stuff? He didn't answer. He waffled a bit about something else. Sounded like a bit of a politician, actually. I mean, he's a nice guy and everything, but he didn't actually answer the question because he knows they don't. So there's still a massive amount the examiners can learn about it. But I and just today, I had a PDI pass their part two last week, and they passed, and the examiner said to her after, you know, well, I've marked you for this, but you must remember to do push pull because that's how you're going to teach your learners to steer. You must teach them push pull. I know exactly.
I'm
And I
still
said
doing that.
but I said that's not even. I said to it's not even on the marking sheet, the marking notes, examiner guidelines about that. So I don't know why she's been told that. So there's a long way to go still. But yes, examiners certainly in my experience with examiners around here, there's big differences between them in terms of their understanding. Unfortunately.
Thanks, Terry. Ian?
Well, although I cover a big area, I tend to see the same examiners, and I think certainly there's a consistency in marking, and I think that there's starting to be more consistency with feedback. And this is me talking positively about the DVSA again.
Lucky I'm sitting down.
But the examiners I see regularly, when you're listening to the feedback with them in the car and the way they're explaining why they've marked the way they've marked, I think it works quite well. I think certainly the ones I've got dealings with know the stuff, and you can have a great conversation with them about it. But at the end of the day, their job is to assess and our job is to train, and there's very little crossover. And quite rightly, there should be very little crossover, because our job's to get the best out of people and their job's to say that'll do. And every time I've had an issue with understanding and I've asked the examiner about it, it's always been explained to my satisfaction. So I'm going to, with the utmost respect, Terry, I'm going to have to disagree with you there.
Well, again?
Yeah.
She's doing it. Japanese whiskey is better than Scotch whiskey.
You've just alienated a lot of people with that statement.
I'm just doing a gesture and nothing else. Nothing else. Private joke.
Maybe you've got more knowledgeable examiners up there, Ian.
The examiners in Rugby have been doing the job a very long time, some of them, and a long time for others.
Yeah, I noticed the difference when I developed along the coaching route. And some of the more forward-thinking examiners seemed to use getting feedback rather than just saying you did this and this, which I really liked. It was almost like they could see the differences in me presenting people for tests and how they were interacting. And certainly some of the examiners, rather than just said, driving down so-and-so road, tell me about it. Do you see what I mean? And I would like to think that was because they could see what differences I was making within my personal training. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think the thing with that one is that all the examiners I've sat in the car with who do feedback, they all do that. But the better ones actually put a space in for the pupil to think about it and answer it before they tell them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, my pupils would answer it.
Mm. But
First question
sometimes
always
the
gets,
examiners do what experienced ADIs do. Some experienced ADI do, which is ask the pupil what they think and then tell them what they should think.
Yeah. Or like I have had a habit of doing, asking 3 questions all in a row.
Just 3.
Oh,
yeah,
well, yeah.
still do that, Fiona.
I was just bigging myself up. But it was only 3.
Mm.
Well, I'm going to big myself up and say I did 7 one day.
Whoa, he's a genius.
And he just went, take me away. I confess, take me away.
Wow, 7 in a row. That's a skill.
It was scary, mate. It was absolutely scary.
I don't think I can count that high.
You just open your mouth and all this drops out of it. Bit like today.
Yes. Yeah. I think that about draws it to a close, unless either of you have final thoughts.
No, not at the minute.
Not
What will we do
FA
next
Cup
time?
1979, last minute. No. All right.
What?
Final
I missed
thoughts.
that.
No. Yeah, no, just it doesn't.
No, I'm final
Final
thoughts.
of
Okay.
1970 FA Cup final. Football reference joke, coach.
Yeah, don't get it.
It
Sorry.
was 1972, be Sunderland.
I wonder how he remembers that.
Because I was when it happened.
Neither of you ever thought.
PSTs, glad they're not around anymore in that sense.
But we need the good bits.
Unfortunately,
Need the good bits of PSD.
hang on. Unfortunately, there is still training going on around them. And maybe we should focus on the skills that came out of PSTs rather than the actual PSTs.
Can you sum it up any better, Ian?
Who can sum up better than Terry does? I mean, he's just the master.
He can't be bothered to talk, can he? His mouth's finished for the day.
No,
He's
it
been
hasn't.
talking
It
a lot.
hasn't. Ian, what was PST8?
PST8, I don't know. I can tell you what 6 and 10 were, and 6 and 10, what 6 and 10 were.
Just 6 and 10. All right. Well, I think you should tell us.
PST8 would have been, no, I don't know, but 10 was meet, cross, overtake, adequate clearance, and anticipation at phase 1. Any 2 of those subjects plus anticipation, and progress, hesitancy, and road position for phase 2. And PST6 was pedestrian crossings and the use of signals for phase 1, and reverse parallel park for phase 2.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And what did you have for dinner last night?
That's a very good question. I had homemade mince pie, chips, and vegetables.
No way.
I did. And I slow cooked the mince. I stood over that slow cooker, sweating like you don't know what, cooking that mince.
I think
I'm
you might have
impressed.
missed the principle behind the slow cooker.
No, you didn't. No, you carry on, Ian. Do it how you're doing. That's fine.
Terry, did you have sardine sandwiches?
I've never had sardines since. Anyway, are we going to tell people what we do next time, or are we going to surprise them?
Do we know what we're doing next time?
You haven't told us yet, Fiona.
I haven't. I have no idea. I was hoping it would sort of fall out, but it hasn't.
Easy. Okay, let's not say. Let's keep it a surprise then.
I think I don't know. Well, we've done the natural progression. Have you got any ideas then?
No, I was trying to put it on you.
Well, you're the brains of the outfit.
Yeah, but I just turn up because we're threatened.
That's like I only got half.
Well, you're the brains. One of us is the. No, we won't go there.
Harry's
No.
had his talk.
No.
No. What comes after PSTs?
In what universe?
UVWs?
Yes. Make of car.
Cat.
Right.
Cat.
Right. Here we go. Strike a pose.
Huh?
Strike a pose.